Well, let's get more now on the latest proposed round of rail strikes set to hit the network over the Christmas period. The General Secretary of the RMT Union, Mick Lynch, who earlier met with the Transport Secretary, joins me in the studio live tonight. Thanks very much indeed for coming in. You've had that meeting today with the Transport Secretary. He says that he's hoping you would call off the strikes. He's told Sky News this last night, get back round the table with employers, hammer out reforms, and that is the way that the government can deliver the pay rises that you're asking for. What was discussed today? Have you met with an agreement yet?
Well, we've no agreement, and the Secretary of State won't negotiate directly with me. He's made statements which we welcome, that he'll be a facilitator. So we had a meeting about what that means tangibly, you know. And I've asked him for a document, a letter, simply saying this is what my role is, and he's going to clear up some of the roles of these industry players like the Rail Delivery Group and the train operators and Network Rail, what their mandate is to negotiate and what they can do in terms of industrial relations. So because now there's some doubt about that, with lawyers' letters being sent to my union saying we're not in a position to negotiate, we haven't got a mandate and we can't make you an offer. That's ridiculous. I think everyone would agree that 6 months into this, they're not able to produce a document. So it's not just about money. There are some very heavy agendas that they want to put on our people. They want to cut maybe 5,000 or 6,000 jobs out of the railway, which is serious. So we want an undertaking on job security. They want to change our working conditions very fundamentally in all sorts of detailed and important ways, such as shutting all the ticket offices in Britain, cutting all of the maintenance by 50%, which is a serious safety issue, and other matters that affect our terms and conditions.
These are what happens as services improve, the age of digitisation is coming in.
Well, you don't digitise track inspections.
Buy your tickets at machines now.
You don't digitise track inspections and bridge inspections and cutting inspections. We had an accident in Scotland last year where 3 people were killed and a train was derailed in a very serious way. And there are serious questions about the maintenance that Network Rail does. They want to cut that by 50% in order to make the redundancies. So we'll work that through with them. There are new technologies, we accept that. And we deal with new technology all of the time. My members operate that new technology on the passenger side and on the infrastructure side. So we'll talk about that, but we've got to have an agreement on it, not imposition. And then when we've sorted those issues out, we can get to pay.
You say we are being reasonable, but it's impossible to find a negotiated settlement. That's kind of an oxymoron, isn't it? Why not?
Because I go into these meetings and I sit this close to people who are very senior people in the rail industry. I spend hours and hours, possibly hundreds of hours, speaking to them. We get to the end of the process and they say, we're going to make you an offer. And then they go out and make a phone call and they come back in and say, I'm not allowed to make you an offer. And that cannot go on. They cannot even give me the document that they're discussing. We have no document to put to our people to consider as a settlement or even a potential settlement after 6 months of intensive discussions. It sounds like you feel
like they're playing games. I mean, let's get to the nitty-gritty of this. What are you asking for and what are they not coming back with? And also, the way you're saying
anything.
Right, because they're not willing to...
Because they haven't got a mandate from the Secretary of State who's responsible for that mandate, which is why I went to see him today to clear that up. He's now going to write me a letter saying this is the way this is going to work. We're going to have a process. I'm asking for ministerial involvement and monitoring of that. He's not going to negotiate with me. That's not his job. I understand that. But he's got to put some momentum into this process so that we can get a settlement and hopefully call off these strikes. But we won't call them off until we've got tangible progress and a document we can put to our members in a referendum.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, as you say, you're not directly negotiating with the Transport Secretary. It's with the Network Rail and the train companies. Do you feel like there's a strategy of delaying tactics and it might not well be their priority?
Absolutely. The last time we had a strike was 8 weeks ago, and we postponed a set of strike 2 weeks ago, or 2.5 weeks ago, in order to have intensive negotiations. We got into the end of that 2-week process and they produced nothing. Network Rail didn't give us a new position and the train operating companies gave us nothing at all. I haven't even got a document to give to my members and say, what do you think of this? So that's unacceptable. So he needs to step in now and clarify what the roles of his agents are, that's the train operators and Network Rail, and allow them to make serious offers in order to get progress in this dispute.
Let's talk about the people most affected by this, and that's ordinary people trying to get to work. Are you holding the general public to ransom now?
No, that's just a cliche that people pick up. You know, it's worthy of the Daily Mail, which isn't very worthy at all. So people throw those cliches at us. We live in these communities. We live amongst the people that are affected. We don't want to affect them. My members lose their wages when they go on strike. The public is inconvenienced. The businesses that we're hearing about in hospitality and so on are losing money.
Especially with Christmas coming up.
You know who doesn't lose money?
Especially with Christmas coming up.
You know who doesn't lose money? The train operators. They are indemnified every time we go on strike for £30 million. The Department for Transport...
So then what's the point in striking if it's not going to hit them where it hurts, it's hitting the general public where it hurts?
Well, that is a national scandal. So I'm dealing with a set of people who've got no incentive to settle this dispute because they've been subsidised by incompetent Tory politicians to support strike action, and they can't even make a set of proposals. We estimate they've spent £250 million on subsidising this strike. It would have been far cheaper to settle that strike on our complete terms at the beginning. It's a ridiculous situation which shows you that we've had an incompetent government, 3 different transport secretaries, a dozen transport under-secretaries, and God knows what's going on in the background over there while they're fighting it out. What they can't do is step up to their responsibilities to the public and to the industry which they're meant to control.
Briefly, because we're running out of time and I've got 2 more questions I want to ask you before my producer tells me to move on. First of all, we're in a cost of living crisis. People are really struggling. Everyone I know and grown up with are struggling right now. What do you say to the person who's a daily wager, and if they don't get to work on time and they can't afford a taxi to get there and you're striking, what do you say to them? Well,
the buses aren't working. The underground is working at the moment. We don't want this inconvenience. What I would say to those people who are in precarious employment created by this government and the laws, the poor employment laws, is that they need a strong union and we need a better deal at the workplace. What they want to do to our members is put us into those precarious situations through subcontracting and outsourcing. We're sorry for that, but the British worker needs a better deal. They need a better deal on employment rights.
And let's talk about other British workers very briefly. You've started a bit of a tsunami, haven't you, as far as strikes are concerned?
Well, we're glad that people have picked up on our message that working-class people deserve respect and dignity in the workplace. We used to have very firm contracts of employment and companies that would give undertakings that they would carry through in terms of sick pay, holidays, pensions, even social and welfare facilities. That's all been stripped away, and we need to go back to that so that people feel secure in their communities and secure in their employment, and we can create a better economy and a better society on that basis. Not everyone needs to be outsourced, subcontracted and vulnerable, but that's what they want to do to British workers across our society and across our economy in pursuit of profit.
And in an answer, are you all coordinating now, all the unions talking and trying?
Well, we talk to each other, yes, and it would be very sensible for unions to coordinate because the themes are the same. The themes are driving up profits and driving down wages and conditions. So unions would be daft if they didn't talk to each other about effectiveness and coordination.
Mick Lynch, General Secretary of the National Union of Rail, Maritime and Transport Workers. Thanks very much indeed for coming in tonight. Thank you.